Hello and a very warm welcome back to Tungsten Tales. After yesterday's top tier video of the top 16 PDC nicknames, we're back today with another tier video, this time ranking some of the top. We've got 12 of the best German darts players from the last few years or so, right from the top names down to a couple of outside names. You may not have heard of a couple of them, but you're sure to have heard them after today. And we're going to rank these 12 players from world class all the way down to maybe an also ran in the PDC ranks, with top player, future star and domestic competitor all in between. Don't forget, all these are just opinions, something interesting to have a look at during lockdown, which German competitors may be there as a future star in the world of darts, and maybe some that you'll just expect to see on the likes of the Euro tours and maybe the Challenge and Development tours in the coming years. Or, as I say, just completely opinions, so just let us know down below if you've got a different opinion. It would be great to hear what people think of all 12 of these players and where they might end up in the next 5-10 years or so. So without further ado, we'll get right into the action, and the first player up is Jihan Artut. Obviously we've seen Jihan over the years on the Euro Tour plenty of times, and actually he was a World Cup competitor many times. Actually before the emergence of Max Hopp, and really got the ball rolling, I feel, in Germany before Hopp came into the fray at the age of 16. Nowadays you don't see too much of Artut. I believe he does still appear in the Euro Tour qualifying, but very rarely makes the stage these days. So it's hard to put him anywhere above domestic competitor, and I'm afraid that's where he is going to have to go at the moment. There's definitely scope for him to become a star in the future. We saw some excellent darts from Artut over the years, but for now a domestic competitor. Next up is Christian Bunzer. I've seen him in the German Super League, competes on the secondary tours in the PDC. We've seen him at Q School as well. I'd like to put Christian in the future star bracket, but I don't think I've quite seen enough yet to put him in there, so I'm afraid I'm going to have to put him alongside Artut in the domestic competitor role for now. But he's still young, as I say, still competing on the development tour, so plenty of time for Bunzer to rise up the ranks, maybe even to the top player or even world class ranks over the years. The third player is Rene Adams. Of course, we saw his big moment in the World Championships. He was so close, had really had Michael van Gerwen on the ropes all those years ago. But since then there's been very little from the Cube. I believe we have seen him on the Euro Tour plenty of times, we've seen him in the German Darts Masters. But after such a good game at the World Championships, where he produced some absolutely world class darts, they really were, not really seen enough from him. And although it's the third player in a row, I don't quite see him as a future star, so I'm afraid domestic competitor, sticking to Germany I believe for Rene Adams. The fourth player up is a real challenger though. It's Gabriel Clemens. Most people have Gabriel down as probably the best German player in Germany at the moment, the best player to come out of Germany over the past couple of years. We've seen him compete in many of, or probably all of the major TV events in the PDC now. He's a permanent fixture, should I say, in the top 32. We see him all the time on our screens, and for me, he's probably the best player at the moment, and that's why I'm actually going to put Gabriel Clemens into the top player role. We see his clutch finishing, there's plenty of that. He's a very heavy scorer at times. There's definitely scope for him to become world class. That would see him pushing maybe a top 16, top 10 place in the PDC, but he's still got plenty of time, and I believe there are going to be plenty more titles around for Gabriel Clemens. The next player to have a look at is Max Hopp. Now Max gets a lot of stick. He came into the sport as a 16-year-old, made that World Championship debut, and he's done very well for himself. Potential wise, maybe not fulfilled what people thought he was going to do back in those days, but a top 32 player. He qualifies for pretty much every major. He made a couple of TV semi-finals and the likes of the European Championships, and he's a really solid player. He makes the match play most years these days. I don't think you can complain with what Max Hopp's done over the last few years. Yes, he's not quite that world-class level, he's not quite taken German darts into the stratospheres that people thought it might go, but you have to say that Max Hopp is a top player at the moment, and that's why he's going to go right alongside Gabriel Clemens in that category. The next player up is a player that's having a little bit of a resurgence of late, and that's Dragutin Horvat. Obviously made to the German Super League final, had a shot at a 1-4-1 to beat Nico Kurz in the final of that event. We've seen him in the World Championships, we've seen him compete on the Euro Tours as well. And I actually believe if he can continue the form like that, he's still got plenty of time on his side. He definitely is a future star of German darts. He's been around for so many years now, but he's still got plenty of potential, and that's why I'm going to put him into the future star bracket. The next player up is Nico Kurz, and this is a real tough one. He's obviously only 23 years of age, I believe, throwing the best darts of his life. We saw him in the World Championships, he defeated Joe Cullen. We've seen him defeat Gary Anderson in the German Darts Masters, and he was absolutely superb in that match. He had a 170 finish, I believe, there, and was one dart off the 9 darter at the World Championships as well. He's actually qualified for the World Championship once again, coming through the German Super League, defeating Horvat in that final. And really, is he a future star? Is he a star of now? You've got to say at the moment he's probably competing on the same level as the likes of Clemens and Hopp. No, he's not got a tour card yet, but if he goes to Q School in January, I fully expect him to get one. So we are going to put Nico Kurz into the top player tier. The next player up is a name you'll be very familiar with if you've watched Adrian Lewis over the years. It's the man that defeated him at the World Championship around 3 years ago, and that was Kevin Munch. He was absolutely unstoppable on that day. He hit every single finish that came to him, he hit every big score that he needed. The timing was absolutely impeccable, and since then we haven't seen much of Kevin Munch. We've seen him a few times on the Euro Tour, we've seen him obviously in the German Super League of late, but there hasn't been enough to prove to me that he is a future star, I'm afraid. So Kevin Munch also goes into the domestic competitor category alongside Artur Bunzer and Rene Idams. There's definitely scope for him to get further up, but I'm afraid not at the moment. The next player is Martin Schindler, another one that's going to divide opinion. Obviously competed all over the world on the PDC Tour card holder, of course. Seen him at the World Championships, seen him at the World Cup many times alongside Max Hopp. Now have really fulfilled a destiny with the World Cup pairing. They look absolutely superb and so comfortable together. But in the last year or so there hasn't been much of Max Hopp on TV. He was unlucky at the Grand Slam of Darts, but he's not got many results to back it up. So I can't put him in the top player role, but he's definitely not a domestic competitor. He's still only young, there's plenty of time on his side. There's lots of people saying there's faults with his throw, it's not a completely smooth throw, but if that's what worked for him, that's what works for him. So I'm going to say Martin Schindler does just about fit into the future star category. Maybe 18 months, a year or so ago I'd have said he was a top player, but for now we'll put him into the future star category. Next up is Stefan Siepmann, a player 33 years of age. We've seen him compete on the Euro Tour. He made his UK Open debut back in March, I believe, as well. He looks a very good player from what I've seen on the Euro Tour, but we haven't seen enough of him on the world stage and on the TV stage to suggest that he's a future star yet. So for me, Stefan Siepmann, a player that I don't know a whole lot about, I'm going to put into the domestic competitor category. And the second to last player we're going to have a quick look at is Michael Unterbuchner. Of course, made the German Super League semi-finals fairly recently. Quarter finalist in the Grand Slam of Darts, did very well a couple of years ago in Wolverhampton. I believe that was the first year at the Aldersley Leisure Village. And we've seen him on the BDO stage produce some superb performances at the World Championship. Made a final, of course, not so long ago. So for me, he's still young. He's still got plenty of talent. He's a really, really solid player. He's not a heavy scorer, but you always can rely on him to hit that 90 average mark and really do some upsets. I mean, the game against James Wade at the Grand Slam is one that sticks out for me, where he just stayed consistent, and that's what you need in this game sometimes. So, future star, he's a player that I really do like, and yeah, I mean, if we see plenty more of him and we see him come through the Q school, then there's no reason why he's not a future star of German darts. And the final player to have a quick look at is Robert Marjanovic, a player that's been around for many, many years now, on the Euro Tour, played on the World Championship stage as well, and a very good player at that. He's a streaky player. Sometimes he won't turn up on a day and you'll think, how did he qualify for this event? But other times he'll hit 105 average and you think, well, he's a world beater. He's the next big thing in German darts. It's very tough to categorise a player that's so streaky. Maybe not on the levels of the likes of Unterbuchner and Schindler for a future star role. So unfortunately, I'm going to have to put him into the domestic competitor category. There's a lot of good players in German darts, and a lot at the domestic level, the likes of Artur Marjanovic, seen Kevin Munch in there. They've all played some absolutely superb darts. They've all qualified for the World Championships, of course, but there's so many names up there that there's only a certain amount that can really make a name for himself in German darts. So I'm afraid Marjanovic doesn't quite make that grade at this point, but there's obviously plenty of time for that to change in the coming years. So just to give you a very quick summary, Gabriel Clemens, Max Hopp and Nico Kurz at the moment for me are the top players in German darts. Nobody quite making the world class level, but I do fully expect a couple of those names, I'm not going to say which, to make that level in the coming years. Future stars, Horvat, Unterbuchner and Martin Schindler, a player that I really do expect to kick on when he can find that form once again. And plenty of domestic competitors, names of the past, names possibly of the future, competing on the likes of the Euro Tours, and hopefully getting on that Pro Tour when we do see our next Q School event. So if you'd like to see more of this, whether it's ranking players from other countries, ranking players on maybe their darts shirts or their darts designs even, please let us know what sort of videos you'd like to see coming up in the comments, and make sure you press the subscribe button and the like button so you'll never miss any of that content coming up in the coming weeks and months when you're unfortunately stuck at home. We're still in lockdown for now, but hopefully we'll see maybe some darts at the World Match Play in the coming weeks.